everybody, this is Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here, once again, to talk about 5 more movies that I watched in the past week. And I sound a little, because I don't know, I just feel really weird how lately I've been picking, I'll say, oh, there's 5 movies, I'll watch those. I won't even question them. I won't even hesitate, I'll just watch these 5 movies. Because, to be honest, for many years, I've done the opposite of watch movies just like as many as I can. I've been really picky with what I watch. And there are certain movies on this list that I stayed away from for a reason. And I knew that they would be bad. And for some reason I watched them anyway. I guess that's the dedication I'm willing to put in for my viewers, my viewer family. And yeah, so that you guys don't have to suffer through it as well. Because that's the important part. That you don't waste your money. That you don't support bad filmmaking. That you stay away from movies that like, oh, I didn't know that movie was about that. I didn't know that movie was that. And so, yeah, I'm going to start off with the worst movie that I watched. I knew this would be bad. Bernie. Yes, that's right. Bernie. Bernie. The name. Not any, it's just Bernie. And it stars Jack Black. And I knew I would hate this movie. I stayed away from this movie for probably ever since Netflix was created. This movie has been on there on streaming, and I've stayed away until now because I was in the mood. I wanted to see Jack Black. I wanted to see like a new thing with him. And so I watched it because I heard good reviews from other people. But God, this movie sucks donkey dick, to put it bluntly, because this movie, it not only is spreading false information like those propaganda JFK movies where they say like Lee Harvey Oswald was the assassin like that, but it also just feels so evil and sinister the way that it plays out, the emotional manipulation, the way that they use real townsfolk it really is like propaganda. I mean, there are these shots where Jack Black is crying, and it's just so fake, and I can tell how fake it is. I'm like, God, Jack Black, how could you do this? You're not this bad. You're talented. What happened? Were you having a bad day and you just signed up for this movie because you're like, ooh, I want to play a killer? That sounds like something Jack Black wouldn't do. That sounds like something edgy that I can be like, yeah, I played a serial killer once and now I'm going to get more serious roles. Like, no. There's this one moment where Jack Black is crying, and obviously it's fake, but also the camera zooms in on his face crying, and it's just the most stupidest, most fakest thing ever that I've ever seen. The whole movie, I mean, then you have other elements that we need to discuss, because Jack Black is the least of this movie's problems. And as I was saying, the least of this movie's problems was Jack Black, but there was actually one good aspect of this movie, and that was Matthew McConaughey. He did a really good job, just like usual. He was believable. I rooted for him the whole way through, and he did a great job. But yeah, in terms of this movie, it has some really dark motives with the way that it portrays things, with the way it chooses to leave out information, to sort of misconstrue information. And what do you know? The actual filmmakers of this movie helped him get out of prison. This movie was made in 2011, 2012, and he was released from prison in 2014. And he got to be out of prison for 2 full years. And in those 2 full years, he even stayed in the director's garage. Yes, a Hollywood director harboring a killer in his own garage. If that doesn't tell you all about these, conspiracies, all that, if that doesn't confirm those conspiracies, then I don't know what will. Because this guy was a killer. He was a cold-blooded killer of this innocent old woman, and it was so dark and so depressing. And another thing is that this movie called itself a comedy. I don't find it funny in the least bit. I laughed twice, maybe 3 times, but that's it. The rest of the movie, it has a contrived narrative. It has a forced performance from Jack Black. Not believable at all. It has a terrible story just because of the way that it's told. Another thing is, it keeps up with that documentary crap, like with the interviews, and I hated that choice as well. I was expecting to watch a movie, not like a half and half weird type of thing, but I did like seeing some real townsfolk, but still, very propaganda. I mean, this movie has nothing to do with SJW too. Like, this movie is just straight up propaganda in terms of just, in general, propaganda. I mean, the whole movie's purpose is basically to say, Jack Black's character, the real life person, he's a sweet guy, he's a charming guy. He killed this old woman for no reason, but he's a nice guy, and we should really feel sorry for him. This is a trend too in serial killer movies where they focus and put a lot more attention to the killer rather than the victims. I'm really getting sick of that, to be honest. I'm getting sick of glorifying serial killers, of making them these mythical figures, these Zac Efrons, these Jack Blacks. I'm getting sick of it. And I would have ranted about this fucking movie if I reviewed it when it came out. I can tell you that. Next up is Pretty in Pink. I'm not going to talk too much. I mean, I hated the main character played by Molly Ringworm. I hated the rich jackass boyfriend at the end. I hated the plot. I hated how short it was. But I loved Ducky. I loved Annie Potts from Ghostbusters. She looks really good in this movie, and she should have been the main character in my opinion. That's just, I mean, big mistake. I mean, she was right there the whole movie, and she would have been so much better of a protagonist than Molly Ringworm. And then I like James Spader, and the big problem that I have with this movie is the fact that it glorifies this bad, nasty, mean girl behavior that I witnessed a lot of in high school. And I know that when I reviewed this movie in full, I sort of just listed out a bunch of names that just came to mind, but one girl in particular named Emma, and I won't say her last name, but it starts with an N, and this Emma girl, she was exactly like this character, with the way that she dressed, with the way that she acted towards people, with the way that she would have a boyfriend and then string another guy along. She would do the same thing with, friend zoning, all that type of evil stuff that you see in this movie. And it's just, it makes me physically sick to watch this movie because of stuff like that, because you see it in real life and realize, this really isn't a movie, this is reality of this evil type of behavior. He was friends with her, he knew her since they were little kids, he defended her honor, he did so much for her, and she just treated him like nothing. And that's exactly what they do in real life too, the Emmas of the world. Not all Emmas, just that one, and probably a couple others that I don't know. But yeah, and I'm just being honest here. I'm just being honest because this movie is heavily centered around what decision would you make? Do you think she made a good choice? Uh, oh, will she date him? Will she date him? But they don't really. They treat Ducky so disrespectfully, and it's like, you're really sending a wrong message of how you treat Ducky. And it's funny because John Hughes, he wanted Ducky to get her, and of course Molly Ringworm, she ruined it. But it's just funny because to me the whole movie never treated it like he would get her. Like the whole movie treated him like garbage, just like her. So yeah, hated Pretty in Pink. It's still watchable, like if you just turn all that off and just kind of like, yeah, it's an 80s high school comedy, whatever. Next up is Wild Things. A viewer actually asked me to watch this movie. A viewer, an actual viewer. And so this is a viewer request. I always put my viewers first. And so I watched this quite a while ago. And yeah, here's what I thought about it. It gets better and better after you watch it. Because the movie is just so fun. And it's just such an enjoyable ride with these characters. And basically, it's a mystery in a way. It's a thriller. It has a ton of twists. I mean, this movie has more twists than anything ever. And especially at the end, just twist after twist after twist. It has Neve Campbell. It has Matt Dillon, who I love Matt Dillon. I think he's super underrated. I love seeing movies with him in it. It has Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon, he did such an incredible job. I totally believed him. I loved the second half of the movie where Kevin Bacon actually takes over and becomes more of a main character. That's not spoiling anything too, by the way. I love this movie. I think that it is a very fun movie. That being said, the biggest problem that this movie has is the lack of character depth. There are characters, they're doing things on screen, they're having adventures, they're making bad choices, making good choices, but you never really feel like you get to know them. You never really feel like you have that good dialogue, especially with the other main girl, the rich girl. Not Neve Campbell, but the other girl. I never really, got to know her, never really liked her, never really liked anybody in this movie except for Bill Murray and Kevin Bacon and a little bit Matt Dillon, just because he's Matt Dillon. He's awesome. And so, yeah, I would totally recommend this movie, but to be honest, this movie should have been called Weird Things, because with a title like Wild Things, I kind of assumed that it would be about these girls and these wild girls who are just evil. And I was kind of excited about that. I kind of thought, I'm really excited to see Neve Campbell and Matt Dillon and see their twisted manipulation and scheming. But it's surprisingly a very good movie. I would rate this very highly. Next up is Buffalo 66. Ooh, I'm scared to talk about this movie because the guy who did this movie, I really liked this movie. I mean, when I watched it, and then I researched Vincent Gallo, the guy who did it, and he has a reputation of being vindictive. And, when he feels like they did him wrong, he wishes diseases upon them. And, I don't want any of that. And so I don't know what to say. I feel like if I say something nice, then, it might be taken another way. If I say something not nice, it's going to be taken in a way it shouldn't be taken. Like, I don't know what to say. I watched the movie. You can tell what I thought about it, where I ranked it, and that's it. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to fall into a trap of getting cancer because he got mad that I said something that he didn't like. So, yeah, sorry. But, yeah, overall, oh, yeah, what I will say is, hilariously enough, oh, actually, no, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to take a chance with him. And my number one movie out of all the movies I watched in the past week was The Stepford Wives. And this is a classic 70s horror I just thought, if he watches this and then he sees that I rank Stepford Wives over that, well, it's just my personal opinion. I really liked Stepford Wives a lot. I mean, it was such a slow burn, but it was so worth it. I never could have predicted the ending, surprisingly. Like, it was just completely blind to me. I enjoyed so much of this movie, the acting from the actresses, especially the friend, the best friend. You know, I really liked her performance. I really liked this movie a lot. It was a classic type of horror movie. It was such a good horror movie. They don't make movies like this anymore. And there's so much suspense and like really intense moments, to be honest. Like, I found myself a little scared watching this movie, which is not something that I ever say. And it just shows, no matter how many horror movies you've seen, there always might be one that will scare you and that will bring back that little kid in you. And that's what this movie did. This movie is just amazing. I'm not really sure where it fits in the top 10 because I'm not really sure about rewatchability. It is a very slow burn. I gotta be honest, if I had a choice between watching this again and watching Buffalo 66 again, I'd watch Buffalo 66. And that's just me being honest. Buffalo 66 had a lot more, like, there are some moments that were so good. I replay them over and over again. The photo booth scene, you know, let's span time. And span time like we're a couple, but we're not a couple that touches. Let's come on, are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do this right? Like, I love that type of stuff. It's classic. It's real type of interaction, real type of human behavior, like Tommy Wiseau would say. Not to say that Tommy Wiseau makes something's gonna be misconstrued here, but yeah, Stepford Wives is my favorite out of the ones that I watched because I felt like it was a real horror movie. I felt scared. I loved it. I highly recommend watching The Stepford Wives, and it's a smart movie too. It's got actual political commentary that isn't propaganda, and it isn't forced, and it isn't sinister. It is a great movie. It is one of the best horror movies of the 70s, if not the best horror movie of the 70s, and that says a lot coming from me, let me tell you. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, comment on what you thought. Just don't wish cancer upon me, please. And then also, please go check out my friend Tati's channel, Tati EC, and I'll link it in the description once again. Please go check out her channel, support her, like her videos, subscribe, comment, tell her I sent you. Do all of that. Show her the love that I have for movies. That sounds weird. God, that was weird. Okay. Goodbye, everyone. I need to cap myself off here. Goodbye, everybody. I hope you guys go check out The Stepford Wives, Buffalo 66, and Wild Things. Just stay away from Pretty in Pink. Stay away from girls like Emma. Stay away from that other one, Bernie, piece of shit movie. Yep. Goodbye.